Thanks for joining us this morning, this afternoon, wherever you're joining from. We've got a great presentation for you today. We have a ton of new features we want to show you, and we also want to go over some of our analytics, and we're calling it, your value add analytics, because we know this gives you a lot of power for to controlling your operations excellence and showing you where you can gain that value added step in your operation every day. And so just a little background of why we're doing this today. We at PlanetTogether really, we'd like to share our knowledge. The best way to share our knowledge for this, in this case, is through a webinar type format. Hang on a second here. Sorry about that. Screen shut off for a bit there. So let me just start over here. Yeah, the best way we feel to share the knowledge about our new features and things of this nature with our software is through these webinars. You really get a sense of how we feel about the product. It's nice to actually see us once in a while, and so yeah, we like to share in this manner. And we've been listening to you guys for a while now. You've been telling us what you like in the software, what you don't like in the software, and we really feel like these new features that we've added were really a result of your feedback. So we're proud of them, and can't wait to show them to you. So today's outline is the first half, or I guess the first half of the webinar, 10-15 minutes. I'll be I'm showing you the new features. If you haven't met me, my name is Ryan McMartin. I wear many hats here at PlanetTogether, but part of it has to do with the quality assurance of the product. So I've seen a lot of these new features. I've had a hand in creating some of them, so it pleases me to be able to present them today. The second half of the presentation will be on our new kind of suite of analytics that we're offering. Presenting that will be Kenta Tamura. Most of you have met Kenta or talked to Kenta. He's the client solutions lead here at PlanetTogether. He's been here for over 6 years. He's implemented some of the biggest customers we have. He's very knowledgeable. And joining him, speaking to how the analytics are going to affect your operation and how you can apply them, is Bob Lane. And Bob Lane is the president of Lane OPX, an operations excellence company. He's been in the industry over 25 years, and PlanetTogether is partnering with Bob and Lane OPX to create a operations coaching program for our customers. We'll be rolling that out in the next couple of months, but Bob will also be commenting on that program, and I think you guys will be really excited about it. So that leads us over to the third part of the area here. That's the intro to coaching with Bob. And then we'll just host a Q&A. I should mention, if you've got questions during the webinar, feel free to type them into the questions area. After my spiel on the new features, I can then, I'll be monitoring the questions and I'll feed them to Kenta and Bob or myself, and we'll see if we can answer them for you. At the end, any remaining questions we'll try to answer for you then. And of course, at the end of the webinar, I'll put some contact information up so you guys can contact us if you need to. So let's take a look at what we've got here. We've had a lot of improvements to the software in the last year or so. A lot of them are behind the scenes. We've picked a handful of more visible features to show you today, but I did want to mention quickly that we've gone ahead and really sped up the software. We had a lot of complaints that maybe opening some windows might be slow, or trying to filter on a grid might take a lot of time. So we've gone through and just revamped most of the grids in the system to speed them up for you guys. And a lot of this first section I'm going to talk to with Workspaces has to do with the capabilities we now have since we've sped up the system. So I'm going to try to answer for every one of these new features, what is it, why did we make it, or why did we modify it, and what's the impact and benefit for you guys. So I'm going to start with the Workspaces on the left-hand side. Workspaces is a new concept for us. It's a way of containing all the user elements in the software. So if I go and change a grid and I filter a grid, if I go and put a label on something, if I have my windows arranged in a certain way on my computer, I want those to save, and I want them to be the exact same way when I come back the next day. So what we did was we stuck all that information in something called a workspace. And workspaces are even, I guess, they're great in a sense also that if, user one, planner one has a great workspace he's been using for a while, he's got his grids just the way he wants it, he's got his toolbars, he's got his alerts just the way he wants them, he can then share them with other users in the organization very easily. So what is Workspaces? Workspaces is it's a collection of all the user settings basically, and it's shareable. And I'll show you guys that in a few minutes. So let's get started. We're going to take a look at some components of a workspace, which are grid layouts, some alerts, toolbars, and I'm going to show you a little something extra with advanced search. I'm going to just switch over to PlanetTogether here. So I'm going to start with probably the most noticeable area that you might have seen has changed, and that's really with the toolbars on the top. You can see that we've modernized the UI a little bit. It looks a little flatter, kind of like what you'd see in a modern Microsoft program. And the buttons have changed. And one of the biggest, I think, user complaints that we've had was, hey, there's so many buttons in the software. What do I click on? Well, we've made all the toolbars in the system totally customizable. So I can go in, I can change the size of the icons, I can change the icon if I want, I can rename the label, and I can even make new tabs at the top here. So what you see on the Plan tab is similar to what we're shipping with the software now. We're making it very simple. You've got a big refresh button, you've got an advanced, the clock button, or optimize, compress, and publish. Those are the 5 main features that you're going to be using every day. We thought we'd put them right up front. And if you ever need to customize this, I think this was available before, but just to give you a reminder here, you can customize this ribbon. I can choose any of the buttons on the left-hand side. I can make a new tab. I can change what's in my publish, my compress. Any area I can change. And it's automatically saved. So the next time you come in, it's that way. So that's toolbars. I'd like to touch on advanced search, and then we'll get to grid layouts and alerts. I think grid layouts and alerts are the most exciting part of this. So we'll save those for last. But let me jump over to the jobs pane here. So in older versions of the software, if I wanted to search for something in here, I would simply type it in here. Okay, that hasn't changed. You still have to type it in. But if I was searching, say, for a firm job, I typed the word firm in here. It would bring me down to the first firm job on the list. It would just highlight this line. Well, that's great if I'm searching for a job and that's the only job in the grid. But since I'm searching for my firm jobs, I want to see all my firm jobs at the same time. So advanced search works like that. I'll type in, can type in firm as a search term here and hit return, and it instantly shows me my firm jobs on this list. I can then clear that search term. I can type planned and instantly see my planned jobs. So, this came about from the search was it just wasn't as functional, it wasn't as modern as other programs users are used to using. So we tried to kind of modernize this, and I think we did a great job for you guys. You're really going to like it, and it's lightning fast. We've tested with tons of data. It works really well. Clear that out. So one of my favorite features in the recent months has been grid layouts. And you'll notice, some of you might notice, that you're looking at the jobs pane here. And in older versions of the software, you might have seen tabs at the top that said new jobs or unscheduled jobs or started today or whatever your the default tabs in the system were. One of the biggest points of feedback that we've gotten for the jobs pane was, users want to be able to create tabs, custom tabs. They want to say, hey, you know what? If I have an attribute or I've got a UDF on my job that I really want to just create a tab for, I want to see those jobs in one place. There was no way to do that before. So what we've done now is we've taken those tabs. They're now still available in a drop-down on the left-hand side here. You'll see it's this little green symbol. So all your layouts are accessible here. But what's great is I can create a new layout. So let me just show you how it works, and I'll flip back and forth a couple times. I think you'll get the gist of it. It's pretty cool. My example today is I want to create a list of jobs that have a priority of 1. I think I've got my priority tab someplace here. Gotcha. So I have a priority tab over here. So I'm going to come up to the layout area. I'm going to click on New. I'm going to say priority 1 jobs. So I get to name my layout, and I'm going to create it. And then I'm going to come over to my priority column, and that's going to filter on. I'm going to say everything that has a priority of 1 I want to see. So it filters down to 4 jobs. And then I can save it. So that means I've created a layout called priority 1 jobs. Now it's 4 jobs in it. I can quickly jump back to my late jobs. I can quickly go back to my priority 1 jobs. So we've made it very simple for you to jump back and forth, and the grid is a lot quicker now. Now, okay, so we've got this new layout, but how do I know, what other information can I get from it? I need to know if something is unscheduled, or I need to know if a new job comes into the system right away. So in this sense, we've created something called alerts. And I'll show you. If I use my priority 1 job layout, there's a little bell next to it. I can click it, and it will put a little box up here, a little alert field. And it says 4-priority 1 jobs. It means there's 4 jobs in my priority 1 tab. I can also go and change the color of that. I can make it yellow. I can make it red. What's great about these alerts are whatever tab I'm on, they're visible. So if I'm on the Gantt and I quickly want to go look at my late jobs, I can click on that alert, and it'll bring me to the jobs grid showing me my late jobs. And I created a little example here. I've got an alert in the background that you don't see because there's no jobs in the alert yet, or in the layout, called New. So I figured if I'm on the Gantt, I'll refresh my planning data, I'll bring in a new job, and we should see a new job box pop up. My import's finished. So now I see I have a new job alert at the top. I can click on it and I can see that new job in the list below. And I should also mention, I didn't before, but layouts get saved automatically, and every filter and sorting and all the columns shown are saved in that layout. So I don't need to see all the columns. I can just pick the ones I want, and it'll save. So now you get a sense of what's included in a workspace. I wanted to quickly go to the home screen here and show you that we have a new home screen. It shows workspaces on the left-hand side. In this case, my workspace is called Optimization. There's multiple tabs on the right showing some of our services we offer and our quick access to our knowledge base, things like that. These tabs are customizable. At least one of the tabs is customizable per workspace, so your organization can show certain websites that you want to show your users. And like I mentioned before, workspaces are shared. So if I click on this little share button optimization, it pops over in the shared tab. And anyone accessing PlanetTogether, any user can now see these shared files. So I think that's enough about workspaces. Let's jump back to the presentation here. I'm going to quickly touch on a couple things, and then I'll hand it off to Kenta. Our next two features, really quickly, are the improvement to Gantt highlighting and an improvement to the inventory pane. Sorry. We jump over the software one more time quickly here. I'm on my Gantt. We now have an option called Fade on the Gantt. So if I turn that on, as I click on jobs on the Gantt, it automatically fades other jobs in the background. So you could get this before. I think you'd have to right-click on a job and hide other jobs on the Gantt. Now we've made it really easy, where you click on a job, you can see all the operations associated with that job very easily on the Gantt. This comes into play when your Gantt's busy. Most Gantts have a lot of objects on them, so this is a nice way of just quickly seeing that job flow throughout the whole system. Also, if I turn my fading off, we've kind of enhanced highlight a little bit here, where I can, let's see here, if I come over here, if I highlight a couple jobs, my highlighting now stays. I can move jobs, and my highlighting stays. In the past, I think the highlighting would get cleared on every action. So now that's just it stays with. We just kind of enhanced that for you guys. That was one complaint, that people wanted to highlight jobs, keep them around, and now they only really get cleared when you come up here and say clear existing highlighting. I also wanted to mention that the inventory plan has been revamped. So let me jump over there. Inventory plan does support alerts. You can see I have a low stock alert that I created for myself. So currently, jobs and inventory pane support alerts, and coming soon will be the activities pane supporting alerts. So the new and improved inventory pane, you can see the list of items here. It refreshes automatically with every action that I do. I can see my adjustments now at the bottom. I can see my inventory plot at the bottom. I don't have to click into it. I can change manually certain fields on the items, certain objects, and I can also manage my inventory. So it's just we've stuck information from about 3 or 4 different screens into one screen, and I think it'll be more useful for you guys. So let me jump back to presentation one more time. So that's Gantt highlighting in the inventory pane. And then the last feature I'm going to cover is Visual Factory. Visual Factory is something we're working on. It's going to be available in the next month or so. And we're currently piloting the program at a local manufacturer here out in California. And let me explain it first. But essentially, this Visual Factory is a way for you to pre-configure screens in Galaxy to cycle. So I want to cycle on my Gantt for 10 seconds, and then I want to go to my analytics screen for another 10 seconds, and then I want to go to my inventory plan, and I want to go to my capacity plan. So you can have these big monitors, or any size monitor, I guess, but we suggest a nice large visual monitor on the shop floor, where you can then communicate your schedule to everyone and have it flip through screens. So this feature called Visual Factory will be coming out in the next month or so. So with that, I think I went a little long, but I'll hand it over to Kenta to discuss some more of our analytics.
Thank you, Ryan. What is analytics? So these are, in essence, business intelligence reporting tools driven by PlanetTogether's planning and scheduling output. What I'd like to do is kind of give you a background, highlight some of the characteristics, and kind of talk through what are those reports that you can get out of PlanetTogether. And we'll be kind of set this up as an open dialogue between me and Bob here. And so in essence, some of the characteristics are it's shareable and accessible. What I mean by that, any users, regardless of whether you're using PlanetTogether directly or not, can access these information to get the information that they need that's relevant to their role. I'll cover each role in a little more detail, but you have things like Ops Manager who's interested in things like resource utilization or what is our service level. From customer service side, it'll be more of are we procuring to meet the demand of our VIP customers. For a scheduler, it's more about being able to get the dispatch list out to the shop floor. For the manufacturing side, it'll be getting a schedule on the quality or getting in a maintenance schedule in time, things like that. So those information is accessible from any functional level on a real-time basis. What's also another important thing about the applied analytics is its predictive nature and the fact that the information is actionable. Because PlanetTogether derives and creates a forward-looking schedule that's reflective of reality, we can then take that information to create a picture for you looking to the future of the performance of your manufacturing facility. That also leads you to take information and then take action proactively rather than being reactive based on the information about your historical performance. Now, historical performance is still important, and that is some of the primary information that you can get out of systems like manufacturing execution system or your ERP system. With PlanetTogether, your then analytics become forward-looking so that you can take actionable or correctional measures to improve your operation. So what we have here is just a few sample of the available list of our out-of-box analytics available. Now, to get a sense of how these will be applied, I'm going to cover each persona and have the expert on operational excellence here. So kind of talk through for each role, what are some of the critical information they're looking for. So let's start with Ops Manager. So Bob, as an Ops Manager, what are some of the information that you're just dying to get on a real-time basis?
Sure. Well, thanks, Kenta, for asking. So certainly as an Ops Manager, I'm going to be really interested in, obviously, basic fundamentals. How is my plant performing, actual versus plan, right? But what does that mean? I want to understand the utilization of resources. I'm going to categorize resources as labor, so the utilization of the labor and what machines or machine centers the labor is assigned to. Also, utilization of equipment or machines. That's very important to me. It's going to be important to me as I want to make investments or to consider staffing, going forward. That's one thing I like about the new analytics. It's a forward view, so it helps with planning forwards. Of course, I want to know how are we performing to the customer's needs, which ties into all those service level analytics, such as on-time delivery, fulfillment. That's very important. So I can work with the manufacturing engineers and the shop floor team to optimize how they're running the business, or running the shop floor. So at the end of the day, as an ops manager, schedule compliance is incredibly critical to me. Schedule compliance with regards to service level or on-time delivery and fulfillment, schedule compliance with regards to resource utilization and capacity utilization, and then that all will feed into productivity.
Right.
What are my true costs to produce what I need to produce to satisfy the customer?
And I think really the key thing here is that whereas traditionally is more about looking back, how we have done in the past, now then it becomes what are we to expect and what can we do to change the future, if you will.
Exactly, and then with that, I could then work very closely with the sales department and help them better understand how productive are we, what are our true capabilities, so they could speak more effectively to their customers and At the end of the day, this will help us price our work and establish our cost structures, and helps us align our standards with actual costs.
Right. They're really looking at kind of overseeing the whole operation. How are we doing?
Yes.
And contact the appropriate department, and they in turn will have their needs as well. So I think that's naturally when you talk about customer service. If you're a customer service representative or a customer service manager, what will be some of the information that you need on a day-to-day basis in order to comply to customer demand?
And I just want to say, before I address customer service, as you know, I'm actively involved in the pilot program of Visual Factory with a California complex manufacturer. And what's phenomenal about it is their ops and production manager, they're able to cycle on the screens those analytics or metrics that are key to their business and how they want to run their business. So they're providing full visibility to their employees on their top metrics. So everyone is keenly aware of what needs to be done. So with regards to customer service, customer service reps, of course, are very interested in schedule compliance, plan versus actual. But it goes much deeper. Schedule compliance with regards to how that lines up with customers. The reality is all facilities have A, B, C customers, A being top priority, C being a little lower on the priority. So what's nice is with the analytics, the customer service rep can see and understand the performance and communicate more effectively, with their customer. They will have full visibility to service levels, again, on-time delivery and fulfillment. Of course, they'll understand their customers' requirements and then work on communicating what's really taking place. Lead times. I think one of the struggles that customer service reps have is truly understanding real lead times. What are we really doing within what lead time? So they'll be able to articulate that and capable to promise, etc. It's a pretty active suite of analytics to communicate more effectively, which helps build confidence with the customer, which obviously strengthens the relationship.
Right, and that the local manufactured high precision machine operation is a client of mine, and that is, we've been working together to create analytics specifically to their operational needs, and one of their biggest one is, in fact, more geared towards the customer service perspective, being able to articulate and communicate accurate promise dates to their customer so they can ultimately comply to the promise they're making.
One thing I like in the pilot program we're running is, as you know, we've been able to set up dashboards based on personas. For example, the ops manager, in this case, he has his dashboard with the top 5 analytics that are important to him. The customer service reps, they have their dashboards. And for example, the customer service rep, what's really on the top of their list when they look at their dashboard is sales order compliance or sales order visibility. So that's one thing I want to point out as we talk through the different personas or functions within an organization, is the fact that we are setting up dashboards for each function to hone their focus.
Right. And the way I see it is each persona will have both strategic and more tactical or operational analytics that we'll have in place. And a lot of times, planner or scheduler is really kind of buried in the detail. They really need to get the detailed schedule out to the shop floor. And so ultimately, their dashboard tends to really be more detail focused, very tactical oriented, and not to diminish the importance of being tactical, because you need those tactical in order to win the strategy. So a lot of times some of the needs that they have is identifying the bottlenecks and the constraints in their schedule, what machines are ultimately contributing to lack of on-time delivery or hurting on-time performance, so that we can really focus our attention on resolving issues on those bottlenecks to improve their productivity.
Yeah, certainly what's common in all manufacturing companies, and here we're seeing it again with this pilot program, is oftentimes management asks the planner to create what-if schedules based on how they think the future will change in the company. The reality is demand changes all the time. There's all kinds of reasons why customer demands change. And the planner sometimes has to create what-if schedules and express, well, here's what our capability will be 2 months from now or 3 months from now. And the planner dashboard that we set up really helps them with the predictive analytics. And backlog. Backlog is a very serious topic. It's obviously tied to revenue. And at the top of the list on the pilot program is the backlog report.
Right.
So they're managing the backlog, very, very dynamically.
And the biggest benefit from the planning scheduler is that not only will they be able to run what-if simulations using PlanetTogether, but they'll be able to report back the quantitative result back to management, saying scenario A, here's the result. Scenario B, here are the pros and cons. Scenario C, here's what we got. Now, based on the comparison, I would recommend going with scenario D.
Yes.
And so forth.
One thing I want to point out, Kent, Ryan mentioned at the onset that voice of the customer, PlanetTogether has grown some very large ears and is listening very actively to the customer, and that's something that I'm assisting with because I work with customers globally. But by listening to the customers and putting this pilot program together, this suite of analytics are going to be very powerful.
Right. And the way that we're starting to realize is that a scheduling software then becomes not just a tool for the scheduling only, but it becomes a tool to quarterback, if you will, position the plan and the schedule as the quarterback of manufacturing to determine what will the plan going forward, and to optimally plan it so that you can schedule and execute to the best of your ability.
Very much so.
Kind of continuing the path, from the IT manager standpoint, perhaps there's not less emphasis on the operational focus, but perhaps just to kind of see from the system standpoint, what is the ROI? And when we talk about analytics, they don't necessarily have to be specifically focused on metrics, but it could also be used to help IT personas. Would it be easy identifying data availability or lack thereof, or assessing the integrity of the data up front?
Yes, and I like to talk about the data availability again with the pilot program that we're working on together. The IT team typically spent 35 to 50% of their time managing data to create reports upon request. Even though they have a standard suite of reports, as the business has evolved over time, they've realized that standard suite is not truly applicable. So there are ongoing requests. Well, with the PlanetTogether suite of analytics, the IT department's time requirement to develop and generate reports has shrunk down to almost zero. Now, that's pretty darn amazing.
Right.
So they're able to focus on other projects in the organization and utilize their skills and services to help other functions in the company. So the data all resides, in PlanetTogether. The suites of reports that are already structured cover a wide array of predictive analytics. And to create new or custom reports is very simple because all the data is already residing in PlanetTogether.
Right.
And I know they, in this case, there are two gentlemen that have been assigned to reports management as part of their role, and they are very happy that their time requirements have shrunk tremendously.
Right. And I think another, related to that, I think is data integrity. A lot of times your ERP systems have been up and running, been maintained to an extent, but it's only as accurate as the data you feed into it. And a lot of times the data issues can be swept under the rug and not be noticed until you have a system like PlanetTogether where data is critical into getting an accurate look into the future. And so these analytics also highlight, I believe, data issues that you may have previously unnoticed. That really helps to highlight how off your standards may be, how off your inventory records may be, and so forth.
Well, in this case, again, back to the pilot, with the use of the system and the data integrity, they put forward a 6-week intensive project to review their standards, clean up their cost accounting and standards, which has also helped their pricing model. They didn't realize how far off they were.
Right.
Their cost structures.
So it really shows that analytics can really touch upon not just the planner and scheduler as traditionally thought, but all aspects of the organization.
Certainly.
And sort of certainly related to that is ultimately the consumer of the schedule, which is the manufacturing team.
Right.
So for the manufacturing manager, it's really what's coming at them.
Yes. So there's a large list on the screen of analytics that have been created for the manufacturing manager. Some of those are common to what I discussed with the ops manager. And they happen to have the largest suite right now in the analytics program. But not to take too much time talking about them, but it covers the realm from inventory management. Also helps to understand a WIP inventory. Where is the inventory and how much is WIP costing in the process, and how is WIP affecting the performance of the shop? Of course, anything to do with productivity and efficiencies. But we noticed, in the business, and I've been doing this for over 25 years, a lot of companies don't really do a good job measuring scrap or yield loss. And that's becoming very important. In this case, in the pilot program, their raw materials are very costly.
Mm-hmm.
So now they have a very good handle on scrap.
Right.
And it's helping them pinpoint what's causing the scrap, so they put forward some Kaizen events to reduce or eliminate scrap. But at the end of the day, it ties back down to schedule compliance, productivity, capacity, and demand planning. So not to spend any more time on this because I covered a bunch of those with Ops Manager, but this happens to be the largest suite so far.
Right, because really on the floor, finding the front line.
Right. But, I guess I just want to touch upon the last one in the column to the right, revenue achievement. Revenue by part number or product, revenue by customer is very critical. And at different phases of a company's fiscal year or calendar year, their philosophies and their focus might change. And if it's a turnaround company or a company that is in a race to revenue, they might want to shift their schedule or their activities to achieve speed to revenue or revenue achievement. And so I find that a number of ops managers are just delighted if they can have a report that helps them understand the revenue achievement by time, such as by hour or by shift or by day, and how does that tie to customers, to work cells, etc. And one of the companies that I'm presently working with on operational excellence, the key business metric is revenue per head count. So these reports help in that way.
Mm-hmm. Right, and I think certainly, the last but certainly not least, the finance manager is all about the revenue opportunity or potential loss of revenue opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. A question came in, so I want to address it before I talk about the finance manager. The suite of analytics is ready. I hope we're emphasizing the pilot. We are taking the approach of voice of the customer and running a pilot program with a local California company, and we're going to be running that pilot for another 2 to 4 weeks, 6 weeks on the outset, and then there'll be further webinars and other announcements to roll out the suite of analytics. But we've intentionally and strategically planned it this way because we want to make sure we're drawing in their advice, their expertise, because the complexity of their environment and the fact that they're a multi-site customer really covers our full realm of customers.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very important that the audience of this webinar knows that we're ready now to talk about analytics, but we're holding back and rolling it out just for a few more weeks. Okay, so back to the finance manager. The finance manager, again, is going to be keenly tied into anything to do with cost, revenue per account, revenue per head count, anything to do with revenue achievement, schedule compliance. Finance managers are always watching the backlog. What's the value of that backlog? When is that backlog going to close? Meaning, when is it going to ship? So that's very important. And of course, capacity and demand planning. Do we need to spend capital on new equipment? Do we need to add a shift? Oh, on the other hand, do we need to reduce employees? Should we outsource some capacity? So with the data that's processing through PlanetTogether and the analytics we put forwards, all that information is readily available to them.
Right. One of the customers I have is a global packaging company, based 20 plus facilities in North America using PlanetTogether. And one of the reports that they have is the delta between available capacity versus the demand in the backlog, or based off open demand coming from customers. Looking outward, they can see exactly whether they have excess capacity, whether they're over-prompting capacity by plant, so then the capacity planning team can work together to reallocate demand as necessary to make sure that the facility is being fully utilized while at the same time meeting customer demand.
You're exactly right. I have a number of clients that are always wondering, what is our true capacity? Where do we spend our money? Labor, machines, outsourcing. And we usually start off with a planning capacity of 85%, and we go from there. So this is going to be quite powerful, this analytic, for them to truly understand their capacity, where to invest time and money to increase capacity, or in some cases, to pull back capacity and save money.
Right. And I think some of the feedback's been, the ops managers love it. All he has to do is open his smartphone. He can drill down right to the report wherever he is, and he can make a simple phone call to the respective location to talk through, any potential issues that might be at place. So being proactive about it.
Exactly. Now, one thing we didn't mention today is PlanetTogether, and teaming with me. We have a tremendous background and understanding of lean manufacturing, right, through certification and through practice. And what we didn't mention was the entire suite of analytics all aligns with the tenets of lean, right? It's all about optimizing the business, leaning out cost, having visible information available for quick decision making, minimizing the pain of that critical decision making, because the data and the reports are going to help. So PlanetTogether is very mindful of lean manufacturing principles.
Absolutely. And I think that is a natural lead-in. So, each persona gets their suite of analytics through a dashboard. They get the information they need. Now they identify that they see that they have problems. Now, oftentimes then the challenge becomes, well, what is a solution we can put in place to combat the problem? And I think that's where areas where businesses may need advice in order to determine, well, what is the solution we need to put in place? And so I think that is a natural lead into the next topic, is to talk about your operations coaching program.
All right, thanks, Kent. This webinar, like all webinars, there's a limited time frame, and we want to preserve some time for open discussion and questions. So today I'm just going to briefly talk about the operations coaching program, but I want to note that we will be scheduling a future webinar and share other information regarding the depth of it and what will take place. So, Lane OpX and PlanetTogether are proud to announce that we're partnered together to bring in more background and voice of the customer, what's really going on across different industries, different sectors, what are their needs, and how to align that with PlanetTogether. So part of the ops coaching will include a performance review. How is your company performing? How are you using or utilizing the PlanetTogether product, and what can we do to help you optimize the use of the product to drive your business forward? And we'll be doing it in a way where it's myself and my team teaming up with the client solutions engineers at PlanetTogether and the key customer contacts to conduct some performance review. We'll be recommending the best fit analytics based on current state, performance, and future state, where the customer wants to go. And the recommending best fit will come from the deep knowledge of the analytics, but also from benchmarking across many industries.
Right.
In Lane OpX's case, we've worked with more than 500 companies around the world and flown about 700,000 miles. So we have a lot of benchmark best fit to explore and bring in. Ops coaching, part of the ops coaching is going to center around the reality that PlanetTogether can and should be the hub of information within a manufacturing company. PlanetTogether will be the catalyst and will be the hub for business intelligence. And that's why we're so excited about aligning the analytics with improving operations. So that'll be part of it. Also, best practice sharing. As I mentioned, we are able to really pull from a lot of benchmarking across many industries. So there'll be a lot of best practice sharing, but drawn into best practice sharing will be lean manufacturing methods, concepts, how to shortcut continuous improvement activities. So there'll be a lot of sharing of body of knowledge, and Ryan will be taking the lead to schedule the next webinar, and we will have some webinars regarding the coaching program. But I think I'd like to end this commentary with, it'll be aligned with the client solutions engineers who are already working closely with PlanetTogether customers.
Okay, excellent. So if I hand the baton over, I do believe there's a question that's been asked, and the question is, can the optimization engine look at all of the constraints across a global manufacturing enterprise, meaning multi-plant, of course, and identify the most cost-effective location around the world across sites to schedule and manufacture and fulfill demand for a specific customer? And the short answer is yes. Now let me talk to the detail. Because the system can track cost and simulate the cost implication depending on to which location you schedule the work, and this could also obviously situations where the keeping everything in one location may be cheap in certain operations or operation steps. In other words, first couple steps is cheaper, but then the subsequent may be more expensive, things like that. So we can really capture that cost implication, whether you manufacture in a single location or you do it across multiple sites. Perhaps you may do some of the work in one location and ship the assembly to another location and things like that. So the system can simulate all of that to recommend you the most cost-effective option, and then you can make a decision on whether you want to go with that or based off of other factors in place outside of just simple cost calculation and so forth. You can make a decision to whether you stick with it or you want to have a mix of other decisions that you can make using the system. And kind of related to that is our Copilot functionality. So you have the ability to identify what metrics you want to optimize within PlanetTogether. And you can let the system go on in automated simulation mode, let's say overnight, to come back to you with the optimal schedule based off of the identified metric that's being optimized. So in this case, obviously, the metric will be cost. You can set the system to essentially run simulation continuously overnight when you're not using the system to generate heuristically, identifying all the costs, results, and so forth, gather results, and get back to you with, let's say, 3 suggested schedule or scenarios to give you the result, and you can pick the best scenario that you like and use that as going forward to then turn it into your actual production schedule.
Nicely done.
All right. Well, I'm passing the baton back to Ryan here.
Okay, yeah, so Bob mentioned the operations coaching program that will be coming up soon. I mentioned Visual Factory will be coming soon. Also, I meant to mention this before, but we've had a lot of requests for improving our multi-user experience. So we're going to be making a handful of changes that will make being in this multi-user environment, if you are in the multi-user area, just more beneficial, more easy to use, faster, not stepping on each other's toes, so to speak. So look for that coming up soon. Let's see what we've got next. And so I think we may have one more question. I'm just going to jump over to the question board. Give me 1 second here. So we have a question. Is the operations coaching part of the support plan, or is it additional, or how do we foresee that working its way in this one?
We will be scheduling a webinar soon to roll out our updated support plan. It will be 2 separate webinars, one for existing customers. You guys are currently on our maintenance for given amount of time, whether you've been a loyal customer of ours for years or more recent customers. You guys are in the current maintenance. We'll be rolling out an updated one, and we'll have a dedicated webinar for you guys. We're also having another webinar for new customers who will be interested in purchasing a solution. We'll also have a separate dedicated webinar to go through those topics, and that we can cover the details about the operations coaching and the additional things included as part of the support plan.
Yes, so also, how do we go about getting help if someone wants to upgrade to get these new features?
If you'd like to contact us, please either email the following links there you got there, either support@PlanetTogether.com or contact me directly, and I'd be very happy to help here. So under there you got kenta.tamura@PlanetTogether.com. You can also, our sales may also be a good point of contact, since it ultimately comes to me anyway. So sales@PlanetTogether.com. So for any upgrades needs, feel free to ping us and provide our necessary assistance.
I think it's important to note, go ahead and start the communication through Kenta or support, and myself, Lane OpX, we share an office, so we both can respond to you very quickly and discuss your needs. No problem.
So you can even start emailing us right after this webinar here. So
yeah, please do.
Yeah, so I think we've covered all the questions. Looks like we're coming in with 5 minutes to spare, which is great. I hope you've enjoyed the presentation today. And like Kenta said, feel free to contact us if you have any questions at all. I guess that's it, guys. So, all right.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thanks for joining.
Thanks for your time today, guys.